Hello, everybody. Ryan from Pod Records here with the Squadron leaders. Surf music from the UK. How are you guys?
Yeah,
We're
good.
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 Thank you. Very good.
Very happy to see you guys today. I love your background. Steve,
Yeah, we're in the control room. We're to press the button. Yeah.
awesome. So before we go anywhere, why don't you start introducing yourself, starting with Paul and what instruments you play?
My name's Paul, and I'm the drummer, and the person who has to hump the most kit to every gig. So yeah, that's me.
Yeah.
I'm Kerry. I'm the tenor saxophone player, and I have the least amount of things, which means I can turn up quite near the beginning of the gig.
Yeah. No, usually after sound check. Yeah. So I'm Steve. I play guitar. I tend to kind of write the tunes, and then we sort of bring them to rehearsal, and we kind of like organize them from there. But I kind of come up with the riffs. That's about it.
Okay.
And I'm Becky, and I play bass.
Awesome. So what part of the UK are you from?
We're from the south, so Brighton, which is
Brighton.
Brighton. So that's about 50 miles south of London, and and just outside of there, we're sort of based in Brighton or just outside of Brighton. So it's a good city for surf music.
Yeah, I imagine you guys get to play there a lot.
Yeah, so there's a good scene of.
We're by the sea, aren't we? So that helps.
What's that? Sorry, Kez?
We're by the sea, so that helps with surf music, I guess.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your releases. I know they're more in the vein of traditional surf. But tell me what some of your inspiration for putting the band together and what the sound you were going for.
Yeah, sure. Shall I do this? So Kerry and I were in a surf band in the 90s during that kind of wave. And then we didn't. We moved on to other kind of projects, and we sort of people remembered it and started asking us to get back together for kind of parties and weddings and things like that about 15 years ago. And then we just kept going. We sort of got together for a few. The idea behind the kind of name, I think at the time was we were trying to be a kind of British surf band rather than a kind of copying Americans. So we thought, with nothing more British than the Royal Air Force. So we were kind of thin enough back then to wear the uniforms and fake moustaches.
Yeah,
we'd come on to the busters and do the lot. It was good back then, but we're all too fat for the uniforms now. So, we're actually back to the thing we did wearing surf, sort of Hawaiian shirts and being that surf band really. But that was the idea behind it. I mean, we still keep that up a bit. We do sort of covers of sort of more British. Some sort of theme tunes from sort of British TV and things like that. We still do. I think in terms of kind of where the sound comes from, I think I mean personally kind of grew up with the Shadows, I guess would be the early influence.
Yeah.
So Kerry,
can you turn off your background?
That's killing, isn't it? Hang on.
Yeah, you keep disappearing.
That's no bad thing.
It always disappears.
Yeah. Normally in the middle of a set.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry, Steve. Go ahead.
No, absolutely. So we could, So I guess that's sort of growing up with the Shadows, and I think a lot of the theme tunes on British TV. So the kind of Jerry Anderson puppet stuff like Thunderbirds and Joe 90 and all that had really kind of surfy theme tunes. So the sound was kind of there.
Yeah, sort of 70s theme tunes, wasn't it? Which were all very
So that and obviously all the kind of obviously with James Bond and all that kind of that guitar sound. I think for me as well, like some of the sort of 80s punk bands, like sort of I think like the sort of Dead Kennedys had that kind of thing. You think like Police Truck by the Dead Kennedys has got that guitar, and that's what I was really loving as this kind of team. And there's a great British band called the Very Things, which came out of the Cravats, and the very things have that kind of surfy thing, and they were sort of, you know, pre-samplers, but they were sort of getting the sort of film soundtrack bits, a bit like the kind of Man or Astro Man
Yeah.
kind of samples. They were doing that with tapes back in the 80s, so that was coming on. I think obviously like a lot of people back then getting into the Cramps and, you know, the sort of Gun Club and Birthday Party and all that kind of sound, which is sort of meshing all that kind of 60s garage and surf and getting that kind of twang, really. That's so I started sort of playing that way. I think we picked up the guitar.
Nice.
What about Dick Dale, Steve? We mentioned Dick.
No, not yet. No, and of course, yeah, of
We
course.
supported him once, didn't we?
We did, I think, yeah.
Yeah.
Back in, was that back in the 90s?
Yeah.
Yeah, really going back, isn't it? Yeah, of course. With the then of course with the sort of surf revival of the 90s, all those records came back, didn't they? So it was sort of easy to buy Dick and
He wasn't keen on us. He wasn't keen on us or any other band covering his songs when we were supporting him.
No, I was very upset by that.
So was that the crux of you, the catalyst for you starting a band, like the explosion after Pulp Fiction came out?
Yeah, we kind of went with that. Yeah, I mean, I was into it, but of course, yeah, it was the time to get a surf band together, wasn't it? So and there was a lot of surf bands in the UK back then, and so Dick Dale was touring, Link Ray toured, and lots, and then just lots of surf gigs going on back then. So
yeah, you could get into Brighton, couldn't you? It was definitely surf bands were wanting to play around Brighton at that time.
Yeah.
I think it's about time those guys get back together and start a new wave.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So there's a great surf band in the UK that's Surfing Lungs, which are kind of like a Beach Boys type sort of surf band. But they were around for the 80s and they were still around. So that helped that they were knocking around. And they were a bit of a draw for younger surf bands in the 90s. So then we sort of hooked into them and sort of played a lot with those guys. And then, of course, then the sort of Man or Astro Man started touring, and there's more punky end of it. Montero, is that the other lot, Canadian lot, I think. So it's a really good scene back then for sort of surf.
Yeah. So before we go any further, I want to mention to everybody that if you want to find out more about the band and sample their music or buy the digital copy, there's a link in the description to their Bandcamp page. They have 2 releases on there you can buy. And I really suggest checking them out. Also below that is Pi Records merch and tons of music resources specifically to surf music. All the forums, Facebook pages, and radio shows.
Nice.
So let's get back to how you got together. How did you guys meet?
Cool. So Paul and I have known each other since we were kids.
Yeah.
And I've known Kerry a long time as well. We've known each other since we're probably early 20s, I guess.
Yeah. So I was playing sax in a couple of bands in sort of like the late 80s, early 90s, acid jazz funk scene. So surf was a whole new world opened up for me when Steve put me onto surf. So it's great, yeah.
Yeah, and me and Steve played, I think, in college, didn't we? We started a band which was dreadful but hilarious. So we played on and off 3 different bands.
Dodgy punk bands, yeah.
Yeah, since we're about 16, 17 years old. So yeah.
When you first started, for instance, like you said, a punk band, that first, I don't know, 10 or 11 songs, you think of like the best songs, and then later on, right before you break up, you come out with this really, really, really good set of tunes, and then it's kind of too late. Is that how it went for you guys?
Yeah, I guess that's right. Yeah.
That's how it went for me.
Yeah,
I think that first band was just dreadful. I don't think there was anything good that came out of it. The only thing that came out of it was the name, which I think was Purple Hazel and the Paint Stripping Dog Breaths. I think was that first band. That was the only thing that was of any use that came out of that band. But it was good fun.
So what are you guys doing right now? I know this interview will come out in May. This spring and summer, what are your plans?
Yeah, so we're just finishing off the next record. So we've got about 6 tunes recorded. So we need to crack on and get another sort of 6 or 7 finished. Hopefully that'll be out by the summer. The other big thing we do is we run our own surf festival. So that's in Worthing, which is a place which is only kind of about 10 miles outside Brighton. So the last 5 years we've run a surf festival there, which has been great. So we get bands mostly from around the UK. We've had bands come down from Birmingham, which is quite a long way, and London bands come down from it, and it's a kind of all-dayer. So yeah, about sort of 9 or 10 bands. Just, I mean, it's one of those things where the PA set up. There's a couple of amps, just line check and go. It's all-day surf. So it's been really popular. Last year we had sort of probably about 300 people. So it's not sort of enormous, but about 300 people. And sort of
How many years have you been doing that?
I think 5. I think we had obviously missed one. I think we've done 4 over the last 5 years. So we lost one to COVID. I think this year's number 5. So hopefully that will be May, with toying with there's a kind of extra public holiday because of the new king, which so that weekend, and call it something sort of probably that will.
Do you guys have like a Facebook page for that festival?
Yeah, I'll send you the link. Well, I'll set up a new one for this one, and I'll send it to you definitely.
Yeah, send me the link and I'll put it in the description, and everybody that's watching can go if you're in the area to check out this festival. What's it called again?
It's just the Worthing Surf Music Festival. It's free, so people can just turn up. But it's I'll send you the link, Ryan. I should be setting it up this week, so that'd be fantastic.
Awesome. Yeah. Glad. What date? What's the date for that?
I think it's going to be the 7th of May, although that might change. But it's a Sunday, but the Monday's a public holiday here. So
if you have a flyer, send it over to me and I'll post it on my site.
Yeah, I think I just read earlier as well that on the Monday the Message Ups are playing in Brighton, so it's going to be a surf weekend.
Wow!
Exactly. So it's going to be a great weekend for surf.
Nice. Well, I want to thank you guys so much. There's going to be a link in the description, like I said, to their Bandcamp page where you can sample or buy their music. Pi Records merch right beneath that, and a whole bunch of forums and music resources, surf music, below that. And look out for this Worthington Surf Fest. It's free, so check it out. And I want to thank you guys so much. We're going to be hearing a lot more from these guys coming up.
Nice one. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you so much.